The fall of the pound, how debt silenced an empire. 1. The announcement. Imagine running the world, then suddenly realizing you can't pay the bill. September 19, 1949. Britain officially admits it's broke. The Chancellor walks into Parliament and announces that the pound, the symbol of empire, will be devalued by 30%. Overnight, the world's most powerful currency becomes a lighter version of itself. This isn't strategy. It's surrender. The empire that built railways in India, defeated Napoleon, and survived Hitler just ran out of cash. So what does that actually mean? Power without money is just nostalgia. Britain's real conqueror wasn't rebellion or invasion. It was compound interest. Footnote. This section recounts the 1949 pound devaluation as the public collapse of British financial power. 2. The illusion of invincibility. At the start of the 20th century, Britain looked untouchable. The pound was the global reserve currency. London was the financial capital of the world. The empire controlled a quarter of the planet and borrowed in its own currency, an enviable cheat code for global dominance. Then came World War I. National debt jumped from £650 million to £7.7 billion in 5 years. Britain flipped from the world's biggest lender to its biggest borrower. The United States quietly replaced London as the world's banker. Gold drained, exports collapsed, and confidence vanished. By 1934, Britain still owed America billions from the last war, and defaulted. The empire's credit rating never recovered. So what does that actually mean? Even empires have credit limits. Footnote. This section explains how World War I debt flipped Britain from creditor to debtor, shattering its financial supremacy. 3. The debt that ate the empire. World War II didn't just wound Britain, it finished the job. By 1945, national debt topped 200% of GDP. Half the government's money went to war spending. The empire owed its colonies, India, Egypt, and others, over $3 billion. The colonies Britain once drained now sent invoices. Then America pulled the plug. The Lend-Lease program ended, and Britain begged for the Anglo-American loan of $3.75 billion. The catch? The pound had to be freely exchangeable for dollars. Predictably, every nation holding pounds rushed to trade them for dollars. Britain's reserves disappeared in weeks. Convertibility was suspended. Spending was slashed. And soon after, the empire was sold for parts. So what does that actually mean? The British Empire overdrew its account, and the bank called. Footnote. This section highlights how war debts, sterling convertibility, and U.S. conditions triggered Britain's financial collapse. 4. The humiliations. India gained independence because Britain couldn't afford to stay, not because it suddenly loved freedom. The empire withdrew from Palestine, Greece, and Turkey. The United States stepped in, launching the Truman Doctrine. A few years later, during the 1956 Suez Crisis, America ended Britain's illusion of power with a single threat, dumping British sterling. The pound crashed, and Britain backed down within a week. By 1976, the once mighty empire begged the IMF for a $2.3 billion bailout, the largest in history. That's not leadership. That's financial probation. So what does that actually mean? Empires don't always fall with explosions. Sometimes they just get margin called. Footnote. This section describes how post-war financial dependency and U.S. leverage erased Britain's geopolitical autonomy. 5. The American Mirror. Here's the uncomfortable twist. The same debt pattern now circles the United States. Britain's debt hit 200% of GDP in 1945. America's sits near 130% and climbing. Interest payments now exceed defense spending. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan cost $8 trillion. The dollar's share of global reserves has slipped from 72% to 59%. Other nations are quietly building exits, BRICS, digital currencies, anything that doesn't require Washington's permission slip. So what does that actually mean? The empire hasn't fallen, it's just checking its balance sheet. Footnote. This section parallels America's fiscal trajectory with Britain's decline, noting rising debt, military overstretch, and weakening dollar dominance. 6. The warning signs. History doesn't repeat, but it's an excellent plagiarist. Britain's fall took just 30 years, from 1914 to 1949. America's been on a similar trajectory since 2001. The danger isn't collapse overnight, it's decay by habit. Borrow, delay, deny, repeat. The pound once symbolized empire. The dollar now symbolizes entitlement. The question isn't whether the math adds up, it's when patience runs out. Every superpower faces the same final exam, reform or decline. Britain chose delay. The United States still has time to study. So what does that actually mean? Empires don't die of old age. They die of interest. Footnote. This section warns that fiscal denial and military overreach repeat the British pattern of gradual exhaustion leading to sudden collapse.